One of the most disturbing examples of killer couples I've ever come across is the Canadian couple Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka, otherwise known as the Ken and Barbie killers. Paul Bernardo was born August 27, 1964 in Scarborough, Ontario. Karla Homolka was born May 4, 1970 in Port Credit, Ontario. Before the fateful day that Paul and Karla met, Paul had already committed a series of rapes and violent beatings on women around Scarborough and was known as the Scarborough Rapist. Here's a sketch that was composited, and while police did take DNA samples from the victims, DNA profiling was still in the infancy stages in 1987, and so Paul's DNA sat on a police shelf for 2 years. Karla met Paul in October 1987 when she was 17 and he was 23. The attraction between the two was reportedly instantaneous. They slept together the first night in front of their friends. Karla had allegedly been bored with most guys her age, and Paul was seen as an older, attractive, and established accountant. Before Paul met Karla, he had been with a string of women who eventually left him due to his increasingly abusive and sadistic tendencies. Karla was a green light. He represented everything she ever wanted in a man, and in turn, she was putty in his hands. He decided how she should dress, what she should eat, and often called her fat and ugly. During their courtship, Paul would continue to go out and stalk and rape women, and at first Karla had no idea he was a Scarborough rapist. After the infatuation inevitably began to die off, Paul let Karla know that he was eyeing her younger sister Tammy, who was 14 years old and still a virgin. Paul had allegedly shamed Karla for not being a virgin when they met, as he fetishized virgins. Paul had been living with the Homolka family and became increasingly obsessed with Tammy. Karla agreed to help conspire a plan to allow Paul to have his way with her. On December 23, 1990, after the Homolkas had Christmas dinner, Karla described her sister's virginity as her Christmas gift to Paul. While her parents slept upstairs, the couple spiked Tammy's drink with halcyon, and when she was passed out, they undressed her. Paul proceeded to sexually assault Tammy, while Karla held a rag-soaked anesthetic over her face. Paul eventually convinced Karla to also perform sexual acts on her sister, which she did, and the whole thing was videotaped. Soon after the assault, Tammy began to vomit, and the vomit filled her lungs. Paul and Karla cleaned her up, got her dressed, and put her in bed, and then called 911. By then it was too late, and though Tammy had a visible chemical burn on her face, the death was ruled as an accident. At the funeral, Paul was seen stroking Tammy's hair, and the two allegedly put this photograph in her casket. After the incident, Paul and Karla moved to Port Dalhousie, where they would continue to reenact the sexual encounters between Paul and Tammy. Karla would dress up in Tammy's clothing. Unfortunately, this horrific set of events only marks the beginning of the rampages this killer couple go on. Check out part 3.